Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, as today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams off season so far. As today we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Kings, who are looking pretty beefy into this upcoming season, and they made a massive move getting a great goal scorer in Kevin Fiola and kind of fleecing low-key the Minnesota Wild. So before we get into this, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated there, boys. So let's get into this bad one here with the Los Angeles Kings, as they made some massive moves this past season, picking up Kevin Fiola, which was a massive one, re-signing Kempe. But otherwise, they didn't make a whole lot of other moves. Their defensive core, I still very much think, has some holes, of course. You're going to have Drew Doughty back in the defensive core this year and healthy. And, I mean, he was really good this past season as well. To know Drew Doughty was a beast. But for how well the defensive core, looked not bad against the Edmonton Oilers during that 7-game series. And quite honestly, if the Kings continue to develop themselves and continue to build themselves up, this team could really look like a deadly team. And especially if you have Drew Doughty healthy, this team, kind of the sky's the limit. Especially when you look at this offensive core, there's a lot of things to be afraid about. Especially when you see Kevin Fiola, who, had a massive season himself, is a great point producer, now paired up alongside a Kopitar and Kempe, and you got Byfield. I mean, just, ooh-wee. This is going to be a great future here for the LA Kings. So let's get into talking about everything. So we'll talk about the draft first of all. Now, of course, they did trade away their first-round pick in that deal where they got Kevin Fiola, which we'll begin talking about right afterwards. But they still did not a bad job. It wasn't a great job. It was an okay job. Jack Hughes was a kind of a big pick. Pretty good offensive guy. Plays pretty good two-way wise. Didn't play too bad there for the Northeastern University, 16 points in 39 games. Heard that he's kind of like a two-way guy, and he is the son of Kent Hughes, the GM there for the Montreal Canadiens. So an alright pick that Agnes Booth as well, not a bad defenseman. Plays really well defensively. Definitely not great offensively, but has a really, really good defensive stature. And Otto Solin also not looking too bad there for the LA Kings there as well for the future. But definitely nothing fantastic for their draft picks there for sure. So moving to the trades. Now, the one trade that they did make was where they picked up Kevin Fiola for Brock Faber and a 2022 first-round pick, which just ended up being Liam Ogren, which honestly, I love this deal for the Kings. I think the Kings absolutely win this deal without a doubt. They get a goal scorer in Kevin Fiola, who over the past 2 seasons has just been elite. He's been really good. Actually, probably even over the past 3 years, he's been really doing good. And I've always been a big fan of Fiola. I always thought this guy was going to really blow up sooner or later, and he was just going to be a deadly beast. I think that's what he'll be able to do here for the LA Kings. You might see a slight decrease in his offense just because of the way that the Kings do play. But this is going to help the offense of the LA Kings immensely, especially on the power play. They needed a guy like this, and they got a guy like that who honestly didn't sign a bad contract either for the LA Kings as well, which we'll be getting into that just here in a little bit. So yeah, they signed Kevin Fiola on a 7-year deal worth $7.875 million there on Kevin Fiola. It does have a no movement clause, which does kind of suck, and a no trade clause, which is not too bad. But quite honestly, really good term and kind of a good deal here for Kevin Fiola. He's 26 years of age. The 7-year contract will take him up until he's 34, 35. And most likely, he'll be a pretty good producer. He'll probably get you 35, 40 goals a season, most likely. Maybe, yeah, probably in the 30, 35 goals per season. Might be a point per game player for you. And I think this is a really smart move here by the LA Kings. It's not a bad cap hit. Hopefully, he'll be able to continue to produce the same amount of numbers. And honestly, not a bad move. I really like it. Kevin Fiola is a really, really good player here for the LA Kings. Then Adrian Kempe got a massive 4-year deal worth $5.5 million. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a worrying one because you look at Kempe and you see that, this has been his first really hot season this year. 35 goals in 78 games. He was the big goal scorer for the LA Kings this year, an all-star. But you look at the past few years, he has not really been that type of guy. This is his very first year where he was actually able to hit 50 points. Not even just that, get past 20 goals. So paying him the big bucks is kind of a little bit of a concern because, yeah, he's playing really well defensively. This year he had an amazing shooting percentage type of year and, generating a lot of offense. But can he continue that? I think that will be the biggest question. I feel like Kempe will. He was an amazing player this year. He was a real big treat to watch whenever the Oilers went up against the Kings. I really enjoyed Kempe's game, and I think he'll continue to develop and continue to look really good. But it's definitely a little bit of a risk for sure, as I'm burping. It's a little bit of a risk giving this guy that type of contract, but I think it'll work out in the end, and it's at a really good cap hit for a guy that just scored you 35 goals, and if he does it again, that's even looking even better. Then they got Carl Grundstrom at a 2-year deal, 1.3, not too bad. He's a little bit of a physical guy, generates a little bit of points. He had 15 points in 54 games. Still a young guy, so still developing a little bit. Edler, great signing, 1 year at $750K. I mean, that's just a fucking steal, quite honestly. Great two-way defender, produces some great offense, plays great in the top four, amazing. He's a little older, but if you can't find a defenseman that was available, you have Edler that you can sign for dirt cheap at $750K. Lemieux, not bad. Another just big guy that you can play down in the depth. Not too bad of a move. So there is everything there for the LA Kings and all the moves that they made. The two big signings there in Fiola and Kempe. And they're still very much underneath the cap with $1.3 million. And honestly, not looking too bad. Especially going into next season, they'll be even able to probably get some more room with Phaneuf's buyout coming off the books. And not just that, Quick is coming off the books this upcoming season as well, so they even have a little bit more mobility going into next season. I mean, the biggest thing is their goaltending. How well will Cal Peterson do in going into the next year? Will Quick still do what he was able to do this year with that 9-10 save percentage? That will be the biggest question as well. Will their defensive core improve? That will also be a big question. They had a really young defensive core this upcoming season, especially when they lost Drew Doughty. They had to rely a lot on their younger guys. So can those younger guys continue to do really well? That will be a big question. But I'm really a big fan of their offensive core now. I think, they actually picked up some good goal scorers in Fiola, re-signing Kempe. They made themselves a lot deeper. So there's a lot to like here with the LA Kings. So what's my grade on them? Honestly, there's not a bad move that they did. You look at everything, every move you could kind of justify why they did it. The Kempe move, they signed him because he had a great hot year. He was an all-star, so you have to kind of pay that type of contract to keep him on the team. So quite honestly, I'm giving this team an A-. The Kempe deal is a little bit worrying, but the Fiola move was amazing, especially the trade. Every other one of their depth moves that they did move was really good. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what the LA Kings will be able to do in this specific division this upcoming season. But for now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the LA Kings offseason. And for right now, I'm going to end the video here. And I'm going to end it right here. Come on, Peyton, end the video. See you guys on the next one. Adios, amigos.